Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Bot Clinic. It's Simon Wood here, and joining me today we have my partner Imran. We're going to be going through all of your questions now, but before we start, please can we do the normal housekeeping? You know the drill by now, guys. Please put a 1 in the chat just to let me know that you can hear me and also see both myself and Imran on screen right now. And also, guys, the other thing that the way these Bot Clinics works is that we're obviously wanting to answer your questions. You're here to learn more about chatbots and ConversioBot in particular. So we base everything around your questions. So I want to see as many of you send questions in so that we can go through those. The more, the better. And also this week, one thing we'd like to do, if anybody wants us to review any bots that you've built, either through a full page bot link or one that sits on your site, then please also send those in the chat as well. Because we will take time to pick one of those two up and perhaps go through them so that we can talk about, you know, perhaps the good and the bad in there and how everything's working. So please do send as many questions as you can, and also any links through to bots that you would like us to have a look through. So I'm just going to bring the questions out now. So first of all, welcome Imran. Good to have you join us this week.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks, guys, for jumping on today. We really appreciate it, and we're really looking forward to diving in and having a look to see what you're asking.
Yeah, so guys, just on that, please do send as many questions as you can, and I'm going to look through it. And I'm sorry if I keep looking this way. That's where all the chats are coming in, so I do just want to check there just to make sure that there is any new things that we can see. So I'm going to get straight into some questions, guys, because I can see they are starting to come through now. So the first question is, I can actually see one on templates here, and somebody has asked, Agnes has asked, is there a way to merge two templates together? In short, there isn't really a way to automatically do that. If there are two elements to a template that you want to use, then I would load one of them up in the builder and then perhaps have the other one open in a second tab and just refer to it and obviously copy or rebuild it effectively in the bot builder with the other one, but just obviously get the ideas from a second tab, so you haven't got to keep going in and out of different bot builders. So Agnes, I think that was, I hope that helps answer your question. We've got a, sorry, go on.
So a question here in relation to pricing the bot service. So that's a really good question, and we get asked that all the time, actually. And what we really recommend, what we're moving towards actually, is one way that you can do that is actually offer people a free trial for a month. You know, almost go quite aggressive with how you're giving them that trial and say, look, you know, this could potentially double your conversions, your leads, you know, have a significant impact on your sales. You know, try this out for a month, and then from there you can gauge the value that's offered the client within the month, and price accordingly. Now, like with pricing, it does vary from industry to industry. We don't actually recommend disclosing pricing on a site, just because, you know, for example, with real estate, you tend to charge a lot more than you would for other smaller industries. So with pricing, it could really vary from like, I don't know, like $497 a month all the way up to like, you know, $2K a month. And also it kind of depends on what you're offering as well. So as you know, we kind of have different channels. You know, we have website bots, we have Facebook bots. You know, we're about to launch the WhatsApp version as well. If you're just offering a website bot, you know, your price is going to differ from offering a multi-channel bot. So what we will say is that, you know, if you're stuck with pricing, then please do email us, and we're happy to advise. It ultimately depends on the industry and the value that you're offering with the bot.
Yeah, just to add to that, in the advanced training section, there is a section on selling chatbots, and in there there's another little category for pricing bots. I'll talk through what Imran's just mentioned in terms of giving bots away for free, and then working out the value as you go through the first month. Quite often as well, what you'll find is if you get to the first month and it's now you either pay or the bot gets taken off, then people are happy to look at paying because they can obviously see the value that it's bought them. The other thing about pricing bots I think is quite important to remember. I mean, Imran mentions that you might price differently for different people. Working out what the value of a lead is to the person you're selling to can be extremely valuable when you're working out pricing. And again, that's something I cover using various tools on the internet, so you can sort of gauge how much is the value of a lead to each particular company or industry type, if you like. So that's so definitely go and watch those if you haven't done already. And actually, I can see that that question I think was asked by René, and I believe I've got a call with you next week, so we can always discuss that a little bit more if need be.
Got a good question here, actually. George is saying that he has a problem with the avatar icon covering the send button while on mobile, and his client wants to use it mainly on mobile. So can he get an option to hide the icon while on mobile? Like, we can certainly do that. You know, our tech team will be happy to help. We kind of, you know, do a lot of kind of custom coding for people when it comes to little bits like that, you know, no extra charge. And it's a great question, because it's not really a surprise that like your client wants to use it mainly on mobile, because we just find incredible results on mobile, like, you know, amazing open rates, you know, high engagement rates. Not to say that it doesn't work on desktop, but you know, it works extremely well on desktop as well. But we see incredible stats on mobile. So it's really, really important to ensure that, you know, you're testing the bot on different mobile devices, and, you know, little add-ons, little extras like that, little customizations can make a huge difference to your analytics.
Okay, thank you for that. I just saw a question here. I mean, this one's just a very quick one. I have a question as an agency. Do I have to be registered under Companies House or not? I guess you're UK, you don't need to be registered under Companies House. You can just operate as a sole trader, but in time it might be worth looking at that to help. Okay. When I send code to, here's a question that should apply to a lot of people. When I send a code to a business to integrate their bot on their website, does it automatically integrate with their calendar, etc., or do I need to allow access to that in app integration? So when you send the code to be installed on a client site, either a customer your site or a client site, then when they install it, all they're going to be installing is the code to activate the bot. Effectively, anything the bot does, whether it be integrated to a calendar or to an email service provider or whatever, that integration needs to happen separately from our app. So yeah, it won't automatically happen just by installing the bot. That's just the first phase. Any integrations need to be managed from our app thereafter. And that was asked by Cheryl. And Cheryl, we do have videos that show you how to use all of our integrations, and of course we'll be adding more and more as time goes on. So let's flick through. Just a very quick one. I'm not sure if you're about to jump on one there, Imran, but I've got a very quick one from Frank Ryan. He says, "Hi guys, I'm not a techie. Can you build a bot for me?" Now, for a start, it's very easy to edit our bots from template. If that's a good starting point from you, can find one. If not, we do offer a custom bot building service. So you can email us at support@conversionbot.com with the details that you want, and we can obviously provide a quote for that. So if you really want us to build a bot for you, we can do that. Just email us. So I'm just having a little scroll through, see if there's anything else I can find.
I see a good question from John here. He says he'd like to add his agency page to his current website and change it up so it reflects his brand. Yeah, absolutely, you can do that. We can help with that. And I'm kind of excited to announce that we actually have a new agency website builder that we're working on right now, and we're hoping to launch that very soon. And it'll be available to all of our agency customers, and it's going to be a lot more kind of intuitive. There's going to be a lot more customizations. It's pretty much like a proper website builder, where you can customize to your heart's content and really add your own branding and add it very simply to your own page. And also be room for a video as well. But certainly the current site, you know, it's something that we've used in the past. It converts extremely well, and you can definitely add it to your current site, and we'll help with that if you just open a support ticket.
Yeah, one of the easiest ways to do that is to create a subdomain on the site that you're using, and we'll just install it on that subdomain, so it would effectively be part of the site. Now, guys, I can see very kindly a few of you are sending some full page bot links through. could you be so kind as to also mention what kind of site it's being used on or how it's being used, because it's difficult to tell just by loading a full page bot link, and it's obviously good to have that in your mind when you're about to go through it. So I've got a couple here anyway that I'm going to load up in my browser, so as soon as we're ready to go through those, we can do. They've been sent by the first one may have been David Block, and the second one was Gary Jones. I can see there's another one here from Larry Fletcher as well, so maybe I'll get that one loaded into my browser, and when we're ready we can try and go through those three. I'm sure there's some more as well, but they're the first three that I've got to so far. But guys, if you could please let us know what they're being used for as well, that would be fantastic. Right, so let's see what else we have here. How can we have a bilingual bot so that the customer can choose which one to choose? Okay, this is Dennis. So the easiest way to do this, Dennis, is to simply buy, well, the easiest way to do it would be by having one bot, and you qualify someone at the beginning as to what language they speak, and then depending on which chat path they go down, the content in that chat is going to be in the language that they've chosen. The only thing that you're not going to be able to edit in that case is the sort of default text, the stuff that says like 1 minute ago and just now and all that kind of stuff. That would either have to be in one of the two different languages. But that is something that I will note down to bring up in our next technical meeting, just to see if there's any other ways that we can manage that. But at the moment, that would be the only way to do it.
I see a question that you might often deal with here, Simon. Can you talk a bit, this is from Dan, and he's asking if you can talk a bit about automating sharing data collected by a bot with the client.
Sure. So there's so many different ways to manage the data that the bot collects. And when dealing with clients, really the question is to the client, how do you want to manage this data? I mean, many different people are going to want to use it in many different ways, and it's also going to be dependent on the kind of data that they're collecting. For example, if you're collecting a lead that's going to be sent through to a sales team, then they might want that lead data to automatically be sent from the bot straight through to Salesforce or whatever kind of CRM they're using. So when the sales team are doing their thing, the contacts there, the details that you collected there, the contact numbers there, so they can ring up, get them on the phone or email them or whatever it is they want to do. If you're collecting email subscribers, stuff to add to an affiliate marketing list or whatever, then you want to really collect that data and send it through to your email service provider or autoresponder. So how you're managing it is going to be dependent on what it is that the bot's trying to do. Now, in most cases, it's going to be collecting the information and then through an integration, sending it to a third-party piece of software. We talk about autoresponders, CRMs, etc. Now, we have direct integrations with a number of those, but we also have an integration with Zapier or Zapier, depending on how you pronounce that. And that is basically a bit of software that's been designed for non-technical people to help you connect applications together. So if you think of ConversioBot as an app, and you think of a CRM, Salesforce, or whatever as another app, and you want to get data from one to the other, well, what Zapier does is it very easily collects it from one and drops it off in the other, and it takes about 2 to 4, 5 minutes to set up. And again, we've got a video that shows you how to do that. So really, the first thing you should be doing is asking your client or customer, how do you want to use the data that's collected? They're going to give you an answer, and if you're still not sure at that point, come to us and say, look, this is what my client wants to do, this is what I've got, how do I do it? And we'll be able to offer you some advice. So I hope that helps answer that.
Yeah, good answer. Shall we look at a bot?
Yeah, let's look at a bot. Let's have a look at the first bot. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. So guys, bear with me because I've just got to bring this up. Here we go. So you should be able to see my screen now. I'm sorry, I've forgotten whose bot this was. I will try and look that up in a minute. So I'm just going to load it again from the beginning. I don't know if you want to take them through this one, Imran. In fact, just before you do, the first thing I do notice is that the sort of subtext here that appears just outside is almost the same color as the background, and makes it quite hard to read. I'd probably make that white just so it stands out. But anyway, yeah, if you wouldn't mind just talking through this, Imran, I'm happy to keep an eye on the questions.
Yeah, sounds good. So it's interesting. Like when we initially started building bots, we would often start with asking for the visitor's name so that we could then personalize the conversation and continue to refer to their name during the conversation. But we've actually moved towards not asking for the name, because I think when you ask for the name, it becomes more personalized, but people might be more reluctant to kind of disclose their name at the start of the conversation. And it might actually lead to lower conversions, because what you have to think about, and I know that we discussed this in the training, is that the opening block of the chat is absolutely critical to the success of the bot overall. You have to think of it in the same way that you think of a headline on a landing page or the opening few seconds of a video. It's really important to kind of grab attention and kind of take people through the rest of your bot funnel and really maximize your conversion. So what we've moved towards is not actually asking for the name right at the start of the conversation, and perhaps kind of taking them through the bot, giving them a bit of value, and then, particularly if we want to generate leads, asking for the name later on in the conversation. But yeah, for the purpose of this review, let's stick the name in, Simon, and progress through the bot.
I'm just going to put my name in there.
So that's a good follow-up. You kind of asking a question, but using a GIF. Like, we often talk about bots having the advantage of kind of conversational interfaces, which can use images to really attract attention. And what we'd even say is in the opening block, try and use a GIF or an image of some kind, in the very first block, like as a separate block within the chat, but as the intro of the bot. In fact, when we build bots, we often try and use like one image per sequence before we ask for a user interaction, just because images are so striking, and why not use them to really grab attention. But I'd say that's a good striking image. Obviously, it's very topical right now. What I would say with the language is that when you're using language in a bot, you want to be as conversational as possible, and you want to make your language as easy to understand as possible. So it's like chatting to a friend on WhatsApp or Messenger. You just want to use natural conversation, natural sounding language, and try and avoid perhaps using big words where you can. I appreciate you kind of, you're referring to the service here, and it's essential to kind of use some words, but we want to break down the sentence into small sentences. And if you find that you do have a particularly long sentence, then add a ... halfway through, continue on a next block of chat with the sentence starting with a ... We often do that in our templates, just breaking the sentence down and making it a lot easier to follow, because when people actually look at large chunks of text, it tends to lower conversions a little bit, just because it's not as easy on the eye. It requires a little bit more effort to actually read. But yeah, certainly like the image, and I can see the way this is going. And the options here, so this is an interesting one as well. Again, when we started building bots, we often use like the yes/no path. But what we've moved towards is actually just giving them one option, which is yes, of course, or phrasing it slightly differently, so that they at this point in time they've just started the chat and they might not be massively interested. So like it's like you might want to change yes, of course, to yeah, that sounds interesting. And getting a commitment from them to continue through the chat. Whereas if you qualify that by saying, no, I'm not concerned about viruses or bacteria, you're kind of like leading them down a path which you might not necessarily want to. And you're almost creating more work for yourself as well, because some people will just click it out of intrigue. They're kind of hooked in through the opening block of the chat, and they want to continue. So I'd probably suggest just trying one block of one option there. Yeah, I am interested. And we discussed this in a recent video, but the purpose of the chat is to kind of warm up your visitors and create what we call little micro conversions. So each time they click on an answer and progress through the chat, they're basically generating a micro conversion. And ultimately, the goal is to kind of stack up these micro conversions as they progress through the chat, and then eventually lead to that final, main conversion, whether that's a lead or a sale. So yeah, that's one suggestion I'd make for that particular question.
I'm going to go down the yes path for this. I think just one thing to sort of add in. I mean, depending on the bot, sometimes if you do have more than one path, you can get quite humorous with it. It really depends on what you're trying to do. If you really want to funnel people straight towards taking some particular action, and you want to minimize the different options that you give. But so anyway, you can crack on with that one, Imran.
Yeah. So just looking at this sentence again, it's a little bit chunky. It's quite wordy. You can either break that up into several blocks or just try and find a way to simplify the question. One app that we use and our team use is Grammarly. You can use Grammarly to really simplify your language and set the style that you want to communicate in as well. So obviously for a bot, we want to use a conversational style, a really simple style. So that's certainly one thing that I'd look at with this bot. But the funnel looks good. Like you can see where you're heading with this. And like in this case, the yes and no is actually it's quite appropriate, I'd say, in this particular example.
Sure. Do you have a preference where you'd like to go down next?
Well, let's try no this time.
Another good use of GIFs.
Fantastic, yeah.
One thing I'd just like to add at this point while we're waiting, I think it's kind of relevant. People set up bots in a different way, and there's good practices, and there's also little things that people might do out of preference. When using the typing animation, or what's going to be how long it takes to type this message out, I very much do it by how long it takes for someone to read it rather than someone to write it, because really the end product with this is someone's user experience. And if I'm going through a bot, it has to be tailored towards me. It's not like if you're on chat with a friend and they're typing away and you can see they're typing and you're waiting for them to finish their sentence and you're happy to do that. This is different. It's all to do with conversions and mini funnels, if you like. So we really want to make sure that we're not holding anybody up for any longer than we need to. So I base it on how long it takes for the previous line to be read, if that makes any sense. When you're putting in how long will it take for this one to load, I work it out by how long does it take for this one to be read. I just thought I'd mention that while we're waiting for these these messages to load, and hopefully it didn't do that to you.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. And one thing to bear in mind, guys, is that like right now, I'd say 70% of our traffic is mobile, and the bots have a massive open rate for us on mobile. So when you're setting a delay, imagine that you're not using one of our templates, you're building a bot from scratch, or maybe you're even amending one of our templates. When you're setting a delay for an image, bear in mind that a lot of your users will be checking it on mobile. They might not have a particularly strong connection. So you don't want to leave a particularly long delay before an image. I mean, we often just use half a second delay for an image just to factor in someone possibly having a weak connection. And what we've kind of moved away from is using more than one image for a particular kind of, I use the term kind of sequence, sequence before you ask a question. So within this particular sequence, there are a few blocks, but there are two images, and say someone's on a weak mobile connection, they have to wait for 2 GIFs to load here. I'd say that's probably one too many. I'd try and stick to one image per sequence. But if you really need to, I'd probably just try and use a static image along with a GIF.
The other option, just to add to that, is if you really did feel it was important to use, say, this GIF here by this message, and this one really needed to be before this, then what you could always do is add another interaction point somewhere in here. Even if you're just asking people, are you keeping up with what we're doing here? Just yes, just so they can click something, and then it sort of moves it on to the next one. So yeah, it's just using the features that are available to you to create the funnel as best you want it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that again, kind of consistent with the yes/no options there. So similar point to earlier in terms of those options, but let's click on yes. Sounds very interesting. So similar points really here. It's very chunky. You know, there are multiple sentences within one block. I appreciate you're talking about something quite technical here. So certainly I'd try and break up those sentences as much as possible. And this sequence has quite a lot of text, so you might want to add another question within this, or at least another interaction point. It doesn't necessarily have to be a question to kind of take them within the next sequence. And just try and make it less wordy. But yeah, perhaps I can see that you're kind of being quite consistent with your GIFs. That's fantastic. You know, it's really catching the eye. But perhaps we've probably had a good look at this bot and kind of got the main learning points. So should we perhaps move back to questions, and maybe if we've got time, look at another bot slightly later?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I've got I'm just going to leave this nodding dot on screen for you, but just coming back to the questions, there's a couple of similar questions coming up. One person asked, is there a way to hide the ConversioBot domain when sending preview to clients? And somebody else asked about white labeling when purchasing the agency. Is it a true white label? So first of all, with regards to the ConversioBot domain that appears at the bottom of the chat area, whether it be a full page bot or a widget or whatever, that is called bot branding, and you can update that or turn it off from the general settings page or from within the bot settings for each bot. And again, we've got videos that cover that in the basic training section. So that was just that one. With regards to, is the purchasing agency a true white label? So again, the reason why it's similar is because you can white label the bots or update the bot branding. The agency accounts themselves, the sub-user accounts that you can create on the agency license are still branded ConversioBot rather than being a white label where you can brand them yourselves. Now, we do offer a white label solution, and you can contact us if you want to find out more about that. But for the main agency license, the idea really is that you're running an agency, so you're providing a service to your clients. So therefore, you don't really want them to log into their sub-user account. And that sub-user account is for you to manage their bots, their integrations, and everything in one account, rather than having 20 different clients from one account, which would become a nightmare to manage. It's for your benefit. And because you're providing a service, you're going to be able to charge more money if you retain complete ownership of that. If you start asking clients to log in and make updates if it's not working properly, or to collect their data or whatever, then what are they paying you for? So you're going to be losing a lot of potential monthly income if you want your clients to log in. So yeah, you can, like I say, email us if you want information on the white label. But that is how the agency works.
I've got a really good question here from Jose. He said, what's proven to be better, long or short sequences? I think this is a really good question because it ties into something we discussed earlier about probably the majority of your users will be accessing the bot from mobile. And in that case, they might have quite a short attention span because there are just so many more distractions on mobile. And it is quite interesting that when we started out in bots, we actually started off with a relatively short bot, which was leading to a sale. And it worked fantastically well. But on the next occasion that we wanted to test out a bot, we kind of really went to town and just built a massive bot, really complex, really long. And it just didn't convert well at all, actually. So obviously this is going to vary from industry to industry, from website to website. But we found that short sequences work a lot better, both for lead generation and sales, because you do have to consider what device are your users logging in from, and if it's mainly mobile, then basically they're going to get distracted at some point. So it's your bot's job to really capture the attention. But it leads on to the point that you might want to have a different bot for different devices. So for your desktop, you might want to have a more complex, larger bot, which kind of maybe qualifies a lead far more. Whereas on mobile, you might want to keep it short and brief, and really go for the kill with the lead or the sale.
Yeah, I think also just to add on to that, it also depends on what it is that the bot's trying to do. For example, if you're using an exit bot, then they're probably the shortest bots you can get. Someone's trying to leave your site, they're not going to want to enter into a long conversation. But also, as a general rule, I think, you know, if you're looking to educate somebody, you're providing a bot as education, and then it probably needs to be a bit longer. But if you're wanting somebody to give you an email address or whatever, then yeah, sometimes shorter is better. But yeah, that's something that's always worth testing.
Yeah, and there's a question here from Larry about exit bots working on mobile. So, you know, exit intent, you know, an exit bot is effectively just a bot version of an exit intent script. And exit intents traditionally haven't really worked very well on mobile. There are sometimes workarounds and people get them to work, but you know, it varies according to device. They constantly like kind of need to be updated because exit intent scripts and mobile just don't go very well hand in hand. So you'll probably find that, you know, if you do want to use exit intent bots, and we do strongly recommend that, then, you know, desktop really is where you're going to get maximum value from those.
Okay, I've got a question here from Willie Kruger. Is it possible to have more than one bot on a site? For example, lead generation bot on all pages and another bot on your checkout page. So yeah, that is possible. You can have many different bots on a site. You know, if you wanted to install a lead generation bot on 15 pages, then you can do that. You can list the pages you want to install it on or have it appear on in the bot settings, or you can list the pages you don't want it to appear on. If you then wanted to put a separate one on your checkout, like you mentioned, then you can just install that bot code straight to the checkout page. Don't put it on the home page like you would normally install a bot. It would go just specifically on the page you want to install it on. And if you wanted to use an embedded bot somewhere else, and you can do that. So there's no problems with using different bots on your site. In fact, I'd go a step further and say in some cases it's better to use many different bots, because then if you've got a bot that's looking to do a specific job, that bot is doing that job. If, for example, let's say you had one bot that was on every page on your site, and the first thing it did was say, right, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? 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 Then you're diluting the success of that bot. You want to have bots on relevant pages that are doing specific jobs if possible, because I think that will increase conversions. But yeah, you can have multiple bots on one site. There's no problem there. That was Willie.
Yeah, I see a question here from Amarjeet, which is, which other social media platforms does ConversioBot work with apart from Facebook? So we're in the latter stages of beta testing with WhatsApp, and that's going to be released very, very soon. We're just working on the training for that. So WhatsApp is a huge platform that, you know, we're launching on, has more users than Facebook Messenger. But also we've kind of started working on Telegram bots. They're under development as well, because Telegram's kind of really risen in popularity in the recent past with, you know, the relative controversy over like Facebook updating their WhatsApp privacy terms. So Telegram's kind of really up and coming. And also Instagram is a big one as well. That's something that we're working on. So in terms of like your other question, you know, is ManyChat the main competitor? Like we often get asked, you know, how does ConversioBot compare to ManyChat? The key difference really is that we kind of evolved as a website bot platform, but now we're more of a multi-channel bot platform. So with ManyChat, like they were always kind of focusing on Facebook Messenger, but we kind of believed that, you know, keeping people on your website and generating the conversion on the website was a stronger path to initially take, and then branching out to other networks to become a kind of multi-channel bot was where we wanted to head. And in some sense, it's kind of like been the right move, because we're seeing a massive movement even from companies that were traditionally kind of like, you know, Facebook bot only companies. They're moving towards developing native website bots, because there's just so much value in kind of keeping people on your site. And, you know, you can basically create your own rules there. Whereas on Facebook Messenger, don't get me wrong, Messenger is fantastic, but you are kind of strictly having to abide by their rules. So it's very, very different.
Just a couple of things. I've noticed a few people are asking similar questions here. I believe it was Kim asked, she's just downloaded the bot program. Do you have Bot 101 videos? So Kim, the best place for you to start is in our basic training videos, which you'll find down the left-hand sidebar of our app. So go and have a look at those. They're going to tell you everything you need to know. And somebody else asked, is it best I do all of the training before I start doing agency? So yeah, I mean, and this applies to anybody really. The best thing you can do is go through the basic training videos, and then in the advanced training videos, we've broken them up into sections for each of the upgrades. So there's a section in there that's all about agency. So once you've done the basic training videos, if you then want to move to agency, go and have a look at the agency videos, and they'll tell you how to set your agency up, etc. It's much best to do it in that order, so you completely understand. And also, if you ever are going to send questions in, etc., our answers are going to be based on the training that we provide. So if you haven't watched those videos, you're going to understand less about what we're talking about than if you have. So watching the videos is always going to put you in a much better place to progress quickly. I just saw a few people asking about that, so I thought I'd just cover that in one reply.
Definitely. I see a comment from Don here. Sorry, a question. I think he posted this while I was working through the bot. So he basically says, like, kind of, does a bot lead them like a funnel? Like, a funnel is a really good word. As you know, in the training, we talk at length about full page bots or conversational landing pages. And it's all about kind of treating it as a funnel, you know, with the opening block being the entry point into the funnel, and then the kind of follow-up sequences being, you know, just different directions in which your funnel's kind of evolving. So yeah, like, you know, whether it's a widget bot, you know, an embedded bot, or you know, a bot landing page, or perhaps even an exit intent bot as well, it is all about funneling them down different paths to kind of secure, or sorry, lead them down to your kind of final conversion.
Just on that as well, we've talked a bit about you know, the length of bots, the different yes no questions and whatever. You don't just have to use things as yes no. It might be that you're wanting to qualify people before you understand what you want to sell to them, and this might be specifically good for affiliate marketers. So rather than just having one sort of funnel that you get people down with the idea to warm them up and then sell to them, if you've got an industry that might have a number of different options, and health is always a classic one to use an example. Some people like to eat healthily, some people like to do aerobic training, some people like to do weight gain, some people like to do weight loss. So sending all of these people to the same product is not going to convert very well, because they've all got different outcomes that they want. So qualifying them first to find out what it is that really interests them, and then sending them to an offer. So sending the guy who wants to weight gain, or the woman who wants to weight gain, through to a weight gain product, send the people who want to weight loss through to a weight loss product, you're going to get much better conversions. So qualifying people is also really, really important for certain, depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. See a really good question from Mark here, which I'm looking forward to answering, actually. So the first question Mark asked was, is there a way to delete folders? That is something that we're developing right now. It sounds really simple, but there was a slight technical issue with deleting folders, so that feature will come out soon. The second question Mark asked, so this is a really interesting one for affiliate marketers, and I know that we have quite a few in our community. So he says, with affiliate bots, can you talk about the thought process behind building a bot based on the existing sales page or funnel? Are you simplifying the sales page to the main pain points and main benefits of the product? So as an affiliate, like, I don't know how many of our affiliates are on ClickBank, for example, but let's use ClickBank as an example. On ClickBank, for the really popular products, you have intense competition. Like, you know, a lot of affiliates are promoting the same vendor sales page. You know, they might be using the same affiliate tools to build affiliate landing pages. Now, what we kind of have is a feature where you can basically place one of our affiliate bots on the vendor sales page. And why we're doing that exactly is we're basically standing out from the competition, because we know that, you know, let's take the example of mobile. Let's say like 70% of that vendor's traffic, you know, is coming from mobile. other affiliates are kind of sending people to a sales page, which is just basically optimized for mobile, whereas you're sending people to a page that is not only optimized for mobile, but also has a chatbot on it. Now, imagine like who's more likely to interact more with the page? Someone who lands on a mobile device, which has a normal sales page just optimized for mobile, or somebody who lands on a page which also has a bot. So that's why we really stress the use of bots in affiliate marketing, is that you're getting like, we call it like almost an unfair advantage over other affiliates who are competing, to attract attention towards the same sales page. Whereas you've got an X factor, which is a bot, which is highly valuable on a desktop, but particularly valuable on a mobile. And the way that we typically kind of build these bots for affiliate offers is we just take the copy from the page. We're effectively using the bot as a second conversion mechanism, which effectively takes the same pain points, the same benefits, and just condenses it into a conversation on a bot. And we find we've had a lot of feedback on this, and I think many of the affiliates in our community really love that feature. I think it's a fantastic way to get an advantage over other affiliates, but at the same time, not to forget the actual full page bots as well, the bot landing pages. So something I'm actually going to be discussing with Simon is like a quick mastermind tomorrow that we're going to be releasing to you guys. If you run paid traffic, whether you're an affiliate marketer or you're in other business and you use paid traffic, what we found works really well is sending paid traffic to a conversational landing page or a full page bot. Because what we find is that, again, with paid traffic is kind of a similar principle that, if you're running ads on Facebook or YouTube, let's say Facebook, for example, we find that 70% of our traffic is coming from mobile. If they go to a conversational landing page, that full page bot is an absolute perfect fit for mobile, because it just kind of naturally, like, they're just having a conversation like they would on WhatsApp or Messenger. And what we find is that when we run Google ads and we give Google 2 landing pages to generate leads, so we give them a traditional landing page, like for example, for a webinar, a traditional webinar registration page, and we give them a conversational landing page, which is effectively a full page bot. We find that Google always pushes traffic towards the bot landing page because we're just getting cheaper leads and cheaper conversions. And then when we kind of really dive into the stats, we see a lot of these are coming from mobile devices. So it just goes to show that, like, even an optimized landing page for mobile, in our experience, doesn't convert as well as a bot landing page. So that's a real kind of like a real tip for you guys who are running paid traffic, or even if you're just running free traffic and you have a landing page that you're using for lead generation in particular, do try and work the full page bot into that.
Fantastic stuff. So I had one here and I've just taken my eye off it. Somebody was asking about, in fact, one thing, Imran, I don't know whether we're going to have time. We're going to have time to go through another bot on this call. Somebody has messaged in to say that the bot was one of the ones that I put up does use the qualifying. So that might be another example to show people if we've got time at the end.
Yeah, I see that from Gary, but I can't quite find the link to that bot at the moment.
No, I've asked him which one it was. It'll either be ABC Reality or the Fit Fine Flawless. So I've asked him. If he comes back, he comes back. By the way, just coming back to the any sites that are multi-language, sometimes sites that are multi-language have a flag option. So let's say you land on an English version, there's a Spanish flag in the top corner, and when you click on that, it will load a Spanish version of the site. Normally, the Spanish site and the English site are sat on a different domain. It may well be that it's domain.com/en for English and then /es for Spain or whatever. If that is the case, then they're actually different sites, and you can install different bot codes on each of those versions of site, so that they will load a completely Spanish version or a completely English version. I just thought I'd add on that because I just saw another comment that sort of led to me thinking that. So I hope that makes sense.
I think I found a link to the chatbot that Gary was referencing. Just sent that to you, Simon.
Okay, let me just bring that up then. So I just need to move these questions out of the way.
Just while you load that, I see a question from Marcus. Yeah, we do have an integration with Dialogflow, and that's very much at an advanced stage. We just recently did some more work on that. And again, that's what you're going to find, guys, is that within the next, probably hopefully, well, certainly weeks rather than months, we're going to be releasing a lot of features, like a massive bunch of features all in one go, and Dialogflow is very much on the agenda. But yeah, we like to have like quite a long period of beta testing, purely because we don't want to release stuff that's full of bugs. So we have quite a few beta testers who get involved and pass their feedback. Then it goes back to the dev team. Simon looks at it, I look at it, and it's just a certain process that we like to follow. But that will certainly be coming soon.
Right, so we've loaded the purebodydirect.com site up, and we can see the bot down here. That's obviously got to open on hover because I've gone near and it's opened. I'm just going to reload the page again. We can see the secondary overlay text here. I just wanted to, before we load the bot, and I don't know whether you want to have a look through this one again, Imran, but I just wanted to mention that you can see down here, I don't want to get too close, it'll pop open, but the overlay text here says, "How may I help you?" Now, when we talk about, like we have done earlier, when you're actually in the chat bot, we're actually in the chat content, sorry, and the clicks on the buttons are like almost like mini conversions in a way, but they help you get on to the next point. Well, this is almost the first click we have to worry about before the conversation's even started. And that the text we put in this area, this little speech bubble that we call overlay text, can have a huge impact on the click-through rate of the actual bot. And obviously, the higher the click-through rate, the more people you get into the first block, and the more chance you get a good number of people through. So using this text wisely is extremely, extremely important. So I thought I'd just mention that before we load the bot up. But it may well be that you want to be a little bit more direct there. For example, if you want to collect email addresses in exchange for a discount, then you want to say, please, click here for a discount. And you're sort of telling people to do it rather than just saying, just in case you want me, I'm over here. We need to be a little bit more direct.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, once they've actually initiated the conversation and closed down the bot, you can change the overlay text there. So one thing that we do sometimes is like, yeah, initially you kind of ask them if they want help. And then perhaps once they've closed the bot, you change that message to a discount code that you're offering, just to attract attention.
I mean, this person here has changed it, so they are still sort of getting a bit of attention in case somebody wants to come back. But anyway, so here is the opening block.
Yeah.
So on our earlier thing, there's no image in there or GIF, which would be nice to break it up.
Yeah, definitely. So just the initial impression on this, it's quite similar, really. It's just maybe slightly too wordy. Like, personally, I don't like to use more than one sentence per block. I'd always add the second sentence onto a new block. But like, you're kind of welcoming, you're not asking for the name, which is actually quite, that's quite a good habit to have with your bot. You're using bold font as well, which, definitely we like to sprinkle a bit of bold font to attract attention. And yeah, I mean, the good thing about this is relatively short. So one thing you want to avoid, guys, is like a lot of blocks before they make that initial selection, because again, you've got to think about each click through the chat being a micro conversion, and that opening block being the most important block of your chat in many ways. So you don't want to use a particularly long block. So that's good.
I think also, just on that, and there's two things on this. I think it's quite nice to have it so that when the first interaction point appears, none of the text has really scrolled off the top of the page, because if someone's is distracted for a second and the conversation obviously stops there, if you come back to it and half the conversation disappeared off the screen, it may well be that they never pick it up. And that can be especially important when you're using embedded bots, because you're going to have a bot that's embedded in a site in an iframe that's a certain size. And that will start, the conversation will start when the page loads. Now, if you're at the top of the page and the bot's not even on the page yet and the conversation's going on, by the time you scroll down and get to it, the conversation is going to be halfway through, so no one's going to be able to pick it up from that point. So having them land and it's actually they can see the full conversation to this point is going to help with engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you got a preference on where you want to go with this one, Imran?
So I'm quite interested in what are the bundles. So yeah, now that's interesting. Like, you are asking for the name here. Like that's actually perfectly fine because you've kind of not added that to the opening block. So you're giving the visitor every opportunity to get through the first block. Click on one of your buttons. Create that micro conversion, and then you're asking for the name. A lot of people do it this way, and it's perfectly fine. It's just something to bear in mind, though, is that at this point they haven't got a lot of value from the chat. They may have browsed your site though and got value from your site. So as a widget bot on your site, your bot's kind of complementing the content on your site. So that's perfectly fine. But what we again tend to kind of lean towards is asking for the name slightly later in the conversation. But again, on a mobile particularly, you want to keep it short and sweet, so there's nothing wrong with asking for the name at that stage.
I just thought I'd check to see if that's going to happen on yeah, so I think that's going to happen on every one of those different chat flows. I just wanted to check that, but certainly doing it at that point, the users are more engaged, aren't they? They're more sort of like into the actual bot itself, having got through 2 clicks already, one to load it and one to get through the first block. So yeah, so I'm just going to wait for this to load again, and then we'll go back into the bundles flow. And again, I'll put my name in.
So it's a similar point really that we've already touched on. It there probably is too many sentences within each chat block. I try and stick to the rule of 1 sentence per block. Keeping your sentences short, just like you would in a conversation that you're having with a friend.
So this could be 5 message blocks rather than 3, couldn't it? But I mean, I think it's a good length of content between interaction points.
Yeah, it's not too bad, although I'd probably say ideally, if you can, try and keep it even shorter. And as I touched on earlier, try and use an app like Grammarly, which has got fantastic kind of AI, and will really help you to shorten sentences and make them a lot simpler. But this is relatively simple language, just slightly too wordy.
Yeah. So I'm going to say yes to seeing which categories we can choose from. One thing I do like about that, just to mention in here, rather than showing all of the categories you're asking, so again, it's just another simple click. Probably I'd remove this button here.
Yeah,
something we already touched on earlier.
Absolutely agree with that, and I'd probably sprinkle a few images in there as well.
Yeah.
Generally, again, for each sequence, we like to add 1 image, ideally a GIF, to get attention. Now, obviously, guys, like a bot, the purpose of a bot, it's meant to entertain your visitors. It's meant to be fun, it's meant to be engaging. But there may be certain industries where it's perhaps quite a serious topic, and perhaps images. Well, certainly GIFs are not appropriate in that circumstance, but certainly even for the more serious sites, serious topics, like you can probably still weave images into it. So definitely try and put images into your bot.
And a good way to work that out, by the way, guys, as well, if you're not sure, if you're working on a bot for a client, one thing you can do is have a look at what images they're using on their site. What kind of thing are they using to represent themselves, their brand or their service, and use something similar. That's just, if you're not sure what kind of images to use, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm now going to say no thanks, just show me the bundles.
One quick point I wanted to make here is that right, okay, so the name was referenced. Like if you take the name relatively early into the conversation, I think you want to use that as, oh no, sorry, it was mentioned there as well. That's fantastic. Yeah, so you want to keep referencing the name wherever you can without it being kind of like an overkill. But yeah, I think that's really good actually, just sprinkled in.
I think there's this thing, isn't there? The people who learn sales get told to call somebody by their name an awful lot. So if you do have it collected, that there's no harm in actually using it as
Yeah,
much as you can, without going over the top, of course, and it sounding a little bit silly.
definitely. But definitely, guys. But do bear in mind, guys, that we did a survey of our visitors, and generally people kind of prefer an anonymized experience. So they don't particularly like disclosing their name to a bot. So you do want to kind of build some trust and some value before you ask for it. But you can certainly split test. You can try a bot that asks for the name early and one that asks later into conversation and see which generates more leads or sales, but also kind of which generates more quality leads, for example.
Now, just a very quick one here for anybody who is a Groove member. I can see we've got a question from a Groove member here that says, is ConversioBot fully compatible with Groove? Groove does not have cPanel. Is it best to use WordPress sites that have cPanel basically with ConversioBot? And that is Armagy. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So basically, you should find in our basic training videos, there's a section called Publishing Your Chatbots. And in there, we actually show you how to install a bot onto your Groove pages. You don't need cPanel. Don't worry about cPanel. Basically, any website that you can access the code, you can install ConversioBot on, whether it be WordPress, Groove funnels, a normal HTML site, or whatever. So have a look in our Publishing Your Chatbots training. There should be a video there that shows you how to install to Groove, and it's literally a copy and paste job that'll take you like 30 seconds. So that's very easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sorry, I just wanted to jump on that. I can come back to this bot. This bot is actually finished now.
Yeah, okay.
So we've got these links that are going to take us through. One thing that's interesting here is there's quite a lot of links. So this could be something that you do. When I was talking on earlier about qualifying people, you could perhaps split these up into sections. And we've got things from anti-aging to digestion to skin, hair, thyroid, weight loss, all this kind of stuff. You could ask people about that and then send them to the most relevant one. So you could have done that earlier.
And one thing I'd really recommend, guys, is if you've got a question or a block which gives people a lot of different options, you could use our carousel feature to use an image to represent each of those categories and allow your visitor to just kind of scroll across the carousel. We find that works really well when we've got multiple choice like that.
Yeah, we refer to them as cards in our builder. And actually, one other thing, guys, relating to both of these bots that we haven't actually touched on is that it is really good. And again, touching back on what Imran says about it's always good to have humor or character in the bots, but obviously some industries need to be a little bit more serious. But using emojis and stuff in the bot content, if you're saying have a great day, have a smiley face or a waving hand or something, but also actually on the buttons themselves. So if you're saying yes, please, have that green tick there. It just makes it look a bit nicer. And anything that you can mention, if you're mentioning a phone call or something, you can have a little phone icon. It just makes the whole thing a little bit easier on the eye and a little bit more friendly for people to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you scroll down the site as well, please, Simon? I just want to see what button. So what the color of the buttons and the style of the button. So there aren't many buttons. I just see this subscribe. So it perhaps doesn't apply as much to this particular site, guys, but when you're kind of customizing your bot, you want to use buttons that really match the buttons on your landing page to provide a consistent experience for your visitors. I mean, in this case, personally, just looking at this particular site, I would personally never recommend using a white button on a white background. You always want to use a different color to stand out. But the point is, guys, within your bot, try and match the buttons with those that you use on your landing page. I see a blue button actually on the far left there.
Yeah, I did notice that. I don't think that's a button. I think that's just right,
okay.
An image that goes with this. I thought that was initially. I was going to go and click it, and then I thought, no, I might look a bit silly. So I just want to, we're getting, amazingly, guys, we've already reached 59 minutes and these are normally an hour long. Now we do have quite a few questions here that we've not been able to get through, unfortunately. Now we are going to be holding more bot clinics in the future. We're going to try and do as many of these as we can, as regularly as we can. So I don't know whether, unless you've got anything to add to this today, Imran. I mean, is this a good point to sort of call it a day for today?
Yeah, I mean, we did want to discuss the masterclass that we're sharing with, that we're co-hosting with John Rhodes on Thursday. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Simon.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. So it was really just to remind everybody that we've got masterclass training coming with John Rhodes this Thursday, the 1st of April at 5 p.m. EST. I'm really excited about this one. I've been spending a bit of time with John over the last few weeks, and I'm sure that we've got some really exciting training coming up this week, guys. So yeah, anybody that can make it, do come and join us at 5 p.m. EST on Thursday, the 1st of April, which is this coming Thursday. So guys, thank you very much for joining us.
Sorry. I've added a link to that masterclass in the chat, guys. I don't know how many of you might have seen the interview that Simon and I did with John. He's a really inspiring guy, actually. He's quite a big name in the industry, and he's made millions. Just himself and his coaching students as well have had a lot of success. One of his coaching students actually went on to have a $50 million site, which is like quite amazing. But you know, I don't know if you've seen the interview, but he's a really, really inspiring guy, and he's very engaging, and he's got a wealth of knowledge about marketing in general. So we've kind of had a look into his content, and I think it's going to be really exciting on Thursday.
Yeah, certainly one not to miss.
Definitely.
Right, okay, guys. Well, listen, thank you ever so much for joining us. Thank you again, Imran, for jumping on again. It'd be good to do this again before too long. So we will get that arranged, guys, and let you know as soon as we can. But again, thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, any questions that weren't answered, please feel free to send them in to support, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. Or indeed, we can cover them again on our next Bot Clinic. So guys, thank you very much for joining, and we will see you again in the not too distant future.
Thanks very much, guys.